Moving forward, The Elder Scrolls VI is one of the most anticipated games throughout the whole gaming industry. Bethesda Game Studios have stated that it will be a long time till we finally get our hands on a new Elder Scrolls game, but today we're going to break down 5 things that you need to know about this upcoming game, which includes potential story teases, and how this next Elder Scrolls will be much different than any Bethesda Game Studios title that we've seen before. But if you enjoy this video, make sure to smack that like button. Also, drop down in the comments, tell me what you think about The Elder Scrolls VI and what do you imagine it being like. And if you missed any of the past Elder Scrolls VI videos from me, make sure you check out the playlist. A lot of amazing news, information, and theories about this upcoming game that you're not going to want to miss. Now let's start at the number 5 spot, which is something that's obvious but a lot of people are getting confused on, and that is that Elder Scrolls VI will not be Skyrim 2. As angering and as dumb as that sounds, there's a lot of people that have this thinking, which in all honesty that doesn't make any sense at all, but those are probably gamers that just pick up a title like Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and don't exactly understand the lore and the other games coming beforehand. Now many of us have already explored and adventured with the Nerevarine, the Hero Kvatch, and recently the Dovahkiin. But I think it's intriguing to think about what our next character will be like and what Bethesda Game Studios has in store for him or her. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think our character could be called in the Elder Scrolls VI? My only prediction is that we could be following the story of the Shezarine, which is considered to be the greatest champions of humankind, often appearing to defend the people against elven aggressors, which I think is very interesting if the Aldmeri Dominion will be our main enemy. Now there's some other aspects about Skyrim that won't be returning, which isn't really a surprise, but to some people it may be. We obviously won't be seeing dragons as much, maybe at all. A lot of the non-playable characters, creatures, magic, and maybe even the snowy dark tone will not be returning. This is going to be a unique experience that Bethesda Game Studios will build from the ground up. Some of the possibilities include going to the rainforests of Valenwood, the swamplands of Black Marsh, or even heading out of Tamriel and maybe even to Akavir. Now at the number 4 spot we have the Aldmeri Dominion in the Great War II being teased in Skyrim. Just before the events of the Elder Scrolls V, the 3rd Aldmeri Dominion or the Thalmor were involved in a long war with the Empire or the Imperials. This was known as the Great War. After a victory at the Battle of the Red Ring in the 4th Era year 175, the Empire, exhausted from war, signed a peace treaty known as the White Gold Concordat. Although this has stopped war between the two, it's said that when the events of the Elder Scrolls V takes place 26 years later, the two empires are involved in a tense Cold War. And it's said that Thalmor correspondences found in Skyrim have revealed a different name to describe the Great War, the First War with the Empire. This suggests that not only do the Thalmor intend a second Great War, but they have already began to plan its execution. Conversely, it is heavily implied, most notably in the remarks made by various members of the Imperials, that the Empire is taking its own measures. And this would not be Bethesda Game Studios' first time teasing a plotline in one of their previous games, because with Fallout 3, Dr. Zimmer, who is accompanied by a synth bodyguard known as Armitage, is in search of an escaped synth, and they mention specifically that they are coming from the Commonwealth, which in a lot of ways teased the story and the location of Fallout 4. But to the number 3 spot, we have a lot of reports suggesting that Valenwood could be the location of the Elder Scrolls VI, and the main evidence of this comes from a leaked memo in 2014 before E3, which identified some keywords that were not to be mentioned by Bethesda workers, and one of those ended up being Project Greenheart, which if you're not aware, that is a city within the province of Valenwood. But the real reason why that memo is looking to be real, which is because of a certain part that mentions Fallout Nuka World, which ended up being a Fallout 4 DLC. Either way, that does beg the question, does Valenwood make sense for the location for the Elder Scrolls VI? And that answer is a yes and a no. It's the smallest province in Tamriel, which you would expect Bethesda Game Studios to create a huge open world, but they could very much feature Elsweyr together or maybe even parts of Cyrodiil. Valenwood is described as featuring coasts dominated by mangrove swamps and subtropical rainforests. While heavy rainfalls nurture the temperate inland rainforests, some of the notable people include the Bosmer, the Imga, or the Great Apes in the Hollow, and it's said that the Aldmeri Dominion is cleansing their state, Valenwood, as stated by Melbourne, a Bosmer whose family was murdered in this event. So we could see the Empire invading Valenwood in the Great War II beginning, which would make sense for Valenwood being featured and maybe even being a part of the story of the Elder Scrolls VI. Now to the number 2 spot, we have new technology from Bethesda Game Studios. At E3 2016, Todd Howard noted that with Elder Scrolls VI, they did not have the technology needed yet. A lot of people assume that this could be virtual reality, but I think we have to assume that he's talking about a new engine. As most of you know, the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and Fallout 4 ran on the Creation engine, which is pretty much just an upgraded version of their Gamebryo engine, which is outdated at this point. We've already seen a number of issues such as bugs and crashes and loading screens that are ridiculously long, and at times it felt like a lot of their games had limitations because of this. Looking at the competitors of Bethesda Game Studios, the open world RPG genre is only getting bigger, and that's why companies like CD Projekt Red, who are running on superior engines at this point, are striving, and eventually Bethesda Game Studios is going to have to upgrade their engine and move past the Gamebryo engine. Now to the number 1 spot, we have that Elder Scrolls VI is a long ways out. Originally after Fallout 4's release, I think a lot of us expected Bethesda Game Studios to begin work on the Elder Scrolls 6. But at E3 2016, Todd Howard and Pete Hines shocked everybody when they announced they had 2 brand new games coming beforehand. These aren't mobile games, remasters, these are brand new, huge open world games, and they are said to be bigger than anything that they've created before. And Pete Hines has even joked saying that we will not see the Elder Scrolls 6 until 2022, which at this point is probably likely. Bethesda Game Studios is not Call of Duty developers, and even if they do release a game in 2017, their next game probably won't be coming out until 2019 or 2020 at the earliest. And then finally they're going to have to work on a huge Elder Scrolls 6, which could take a long time. But with Bethesda Game Studios continuing to grow, such as opening their Montreal studio, that could be good news for the Elder Scrolls 6 coming sooner. But their next 2 games, one of them is being rumored to be a space sci-fi RPG called Starfield, and the other possibly maybe a spin-off the Elder Scrolls or Fallout. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smack that like button if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value. Also drop down in the comments, tell me what you imagine the Elder Scrolls 6 being like, and make sure to consider subscribing for a lot more additional Elder Scrolls 6 content to come, and I'll see you later.